Hey friends, so had another thought while I was here. I just saw, well, I'm not going to say where I saw it. I've seen this being discussed, and what it is the topic of, it does revolve around the topic of trends, and not like always trends, but trends that are formed out of trends as a backlash to a trend. Got it? So there'll be a trend, and then people feel like they want to rebel against the trend, or it's maybe they embarked on the trend and they thought it was too much, and then they created a new trend or went to follow like a new school of thought that's kind of in reaction. It like only exists because it's in reaction to the thing before it. So an example I can think of is the ketogenic diet, which I feel like is, a lot of people have felt great on the diet. So I'm not saying this to like say this is bad or this is good or whatever. I'm just showing how people respond to things. And so yeah, ketogenic I feel is really in reaction to kind of a standard American diet where there's a lot of carbohydrates and processed carbohydrates in particular. And so people give these things up and they feel great, blah, blah, blah. But then I saw what came about sort of in reaction to this ketogenic diet, which can be very constricting and extremely difficult for people in our society because of the way that our food is. But yeah, you basically have to make most things from scratch, although there are some restaurant options like as it became more popular, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, in reaction to keto came this other diet called pro-metabolic diet, and that states that we actually really need these carbs, and in the form of even sometimes simple carbohydrates, for health. And there's, you know, studies and information that they have supporting that. And I don't know, to me it's just like, at this point you can find evidence for any diet if you really want to and support it in that way, but you got to just do what makes you feel good. But anyway, yeah, there's obviously been this trend for a long time of healthy food, and like, I don't know, back in 2005 I worked in a health food store, and I was pretty gung-ho about all that stuff, so I kind of understand it in a way. And what's come out of it is, like, I think nowadays the new movement of it, or a version of the new movement of it, is a lot of dogma around eating ancestral foods, so-called ancestral foods. And I think there is some truth in ancestral foods, but as I learn more about like energetic food, the energetic qualities of food, it's hard for me now to stand by saying one food is good for everyone, it's a super healthy food, everyone should be eating it. I just don't feel like that's true anymore. I did feel like that for a while. But I can just see now that food is so much more than just whatever nutrients. You know, and especially with like TCM and Ayurveda showing me like one food can be perfectly healthy and amazing for one person, but if someone has a disposition toward, I don't know, being too warm or too damp or whatever, too kapha at that moment in their life, then said food that is supposedly perfect and nutrient dense is not going to serve that person. And it's not because the food is bad or good, it's just because we are all individuals. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant. But yeah, so this person was kind of putting out, you know, a thing saying like, these are like the wellness trends that I've abandoned, and I'm doing this because it's just too much to do it all by ourselves, which I agree with, but They were just like doing it, I thought, in resistance to being resistant, or I don't know. What do you think? It just didn't seem to have a lot of substance behind it. And, you know, if I'm gonna make bone broth, or if I'm gonna consume anything really, or cook anything, it's not because, the only reason is not because I think it's gonna save my health or save my family's health. You know, that's kind of been the myth of the health food in America, is like, you should eat this because it's gonna help you, and it doesn't matter what it tastes like, just eat it. And that's just not gonna be sustainable. So we've got to just like abandon that mindset and see ourselves as individuals and eat the things that, of course, they should be healthy and nourishing, but get to know yourself and notice how you feel when you eat a food. And it doesn't, I don't mean it in a way of like, do you think you have a sensitivity or a food allergy to this food? Like, it's not that. It's more like, are you harmonizing with this food at this point in your life on this day? Are you harmonizing with this food? And doing that, we're not obsessing over it either. We're just noticing and making adjustments and noticing. And that's all it is. That's all it is. And yeah, I also want to say too that like eating local foods is not, I don't like when they put it in the trend category, because it's not a trend. Like, sourcing locally and getting to know the people that are getting their hands dirty to make food at this point, which is so competitive, not very lucrative, and really takes a lot of patience, grit, etc., to raise food that's done properly and humanely, especially raising livestock, especially that one, like dealing with live animals, not only just growing vegetables and stuff like that. That's, you know, also very difficult. But I don't know, I just think the ability to know and shake the hand of the person that helped raise the food that you're gonna consume is not a trend. It's something that deepens your life and deepens the life of that person, and also helps our local economy. So it's about economics too. And you know, everyone's complaining about capitalism, this and that, or whatever. It's like, one of the strongest ways we can impact our community is through buying local foods, putting the money right back into the place in which you live, instead of handing it off to the big cats and you'll never see it again. You know, so it doesn't really matter what economic political position you feel is right or wrong. It's just humanity and common sense, really, to put your money back into the place in which you live so that it can benefit your local area, your town, your city. So that's a huge part of it that gets missed. And another part of it that gets missed is doing something because it tastes good and you love doing it, and you love showing your family, getting them involved, or sharing these types of foods with others. I think that's a huge part of it that is overlooked. And yeah, so there's some food for thought.